Hi, so I'm with Julia Waldsmith. She works in the National Geodetic Survey, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But that is part of NOS, which is the National Ocean Survey, which is part of NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So we are on the Washington Mall where the student competition that NSPS has organized here in 2024, and Julia happened to be here. So I thought it would be interesting to do a little bit of download on who she is and what makes her tick as it relates to geospatial activities. So tell me a little bit about how you chose this area. Well, tell me a little bit first of all what you do at NOS NGS.
Sure, of course. So, again, my name is Lieutenant Julia Waldsmith, and I work in the Remote Sensing Division of NGS. My day-to-day job is as a photogrammetry sensor operator, and so that means I fly on a NOAA King Air, one of many NOAA aircraft. And aboard that plane, we have very sensitive geospatial survey equipment that is in the back, and so I execute the missions that we're tasked with, and that usually includes flying along the nation's coastlines, which are diverse and dynamic, always changing because of impacts from storm, erosion, or even because of civil infrastructure projects. So our surveys are intended to update the nautical charts. So we're accomplishing these surveys at high water or low water, and we compile that all those imagery products into an orthomosaic that then can be turned over to the Office of Coast Survey for nautical charting.
So you didn't actually say what instrumentation you had, and I'm sure the list would be very long, but I can imagine RGB cameras, maybe infrared.
We do, yeah, RGB and near infrared.
And LiDAR with maybe ability to go into the water a little bit, so you have limited bathymetry.
Yeah. Actually, in the Remote Sensing Division, we have two different platforms. We have our photogrammetry platform, and we have a LiDAR platform that flies. And those mission requirements are different. The photogrammetry mission can fly at 10,500 feet to collect coastal imagery, whereas for LiDAR, we fly more at 1,500 feet. And I don't personally fly the LiDAR mission, but we do use that for topobathy collection. So we can collect, maybe as far down as 50 meters if we have really good water clarity. But that helps NOAA to create very good bathymetric models in areas that are really too close to shore to safely drive ships.
Topobathy, that's an interesting term. So tell me how you got to that place in your professional career. How did you make your decisions in grade school, middle school, kindergarten, wherever?
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody really knows they're going to end up where they end up. That sometimes this happens if you're opportunistic and if you generally know what you kind of like. For me, I was always passionate about science, in particular earth science. So when I was going through my schooling, I chose geology because I just really enjoy earth science and understanding how things work. So when I graduated with a degree in geology, my first job outside of that was in a gold and silver mine in Nevada. So my job was to work underground, following ore deposits. So that was very different from what I'm doing now. After that job, I moved into the oil and gas industry. And so I learned more about reservoirs and how they're exploited, how that industry works. After doing that for 5 years, I was interested in NOAA as a place to work because NOAA's mission is science, service, and stewardship. And all three of those things really spoke volumes to me, and I wanted to be a part of that. And the way that I found my way into NOAA was through the NOAA Corps, and that's where I am now.
And how did you see the NOAA Corps advancing your career objectives? Because I know a lot of people in the National Geodetic Survey, and most of them have never admitted to me that they were part of the Corps.
Oh, yeah. Well, my job was as a geologist, and NOAA didn't hire geologists as far as I knew. But I did meet the requirements to be a NOAA Corps officer because we look for people who have some kind of science background or technical background. And then the idea is that people with these scientific backgrounds can then apply what they understand scientifically to an operational mission. So everyone in the NOAA Corps either flies planes or they drive boats. So my first job was actually driving a boat, which has nothing to do with being a geologist. but the mission of the ship was hydrographic survey, and so I was able to understand from my geospatial background the mission of the ship, and that's the advantage of having people with a scientific background.
So when we met, one of the things I asked you was that I was aware that NOAA Corps officers also are required to attend an academy kind of training.
That's right.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Right, yeah, because NOAA Corps officers are a uniformed service. And uniformed services, like the Army or Navy, have an officer candidate school, usually in an armed service. But the NOAA Corps also has their own trajectory through that. For us, it's called BOTC, the Basic Officer Training Course. And that teaches us some of the customs, traditions, and what the job entails. So for us, it was very heavy in the maritime science side, understanding what it is to drive a boat, what it is to be a leader in a sort of a uniformed service organization. So we did that training side by side with our Coast Guard counterparts at the Coast Guard Academy in New London. And so that's why it's a little bit like the officer side and the armed services, but it's also a bit unique because we're our own unique service.
Well, thank you for sharing this. It's very nice to hear somebody in the geospatial field being as passionate as you are. And I can tell you that you're going to be an inspiration for a lot of people.
Thank you.
So thank you again for spending this time with us.
I appreciate it. And I guess what I would say is you never know where you're going to end up, but if you're opportunistic and you work hard and you take the time to meet people like yourself, you never know where you might find yourself. So best of luck.
Thank you.